Living mulch is a gardening method based on one simple principle: soil should never be left bare. In natural ecosystems, the ground is always covered. Whether it is forests, grasslands, or wild fields, soil is protected by layers of living plants, fallen leaves, and decomposing organic matter. This constant covering is not accidental. It is what keeps soil alive, fertile, and balanced over long periods of time. Living mulch applies this same principle to gardening by using organic materials or low-growing plants to continuously cover the soil surface. The goal is to support the natural systems already working underground instead of exposing them to damage or stress. To fully appreciate this concept, we must look at how nature manages resources. In the wild, there are no artificial fertilizers or tilling machines. Instead, ecosystems rely on a closed-loop system where energy and nutrients are constantly recycled. When leaves fall or plants die, they form a protective barrier known as the detritus layer. This layer acts as a climate control system for the Earth. It buffers the soil against extreme temperature fluctuations, preventing it from baking under the harsh summer sun or freezing solid during sudden winter drops. Furthermore, this protective blanket drastically reduces the kinetic energy of rainfall. When heavy rain hits bare soil, it acts like a miniature hammer, compacting the surface and creating a hard crust that prevents water infiltration. A living mulch layer absorbs this impact, allowing water to gently trickle down into the earth, which maximizes hydration and prevents catastrophic topsoil erosion. By adopting this methodology, gardeners stop fighting against nature and instead collaborate with the evolutionary designs that have kept the planet green for millions of years. If you're finding this helpful, consider subscribing to the channel for more practical gardening tips and plant growing guides. To understand why this is important, we need to understand what soil actually is. Soil is not just dirt. It is a living ecosystem filled with billions of organisms. Bacteria break down organic matter into nutrients. Fungi create networks that connect plants and help them absorb water and minerals. Earthworms move through the soil, improving structure and distributing organic material. Together, these organisms form what is known as the soil food web. This system depends heavily on stable conditions like moisture, shade, and protection from disturbance. When soil is covered, these organisms thrive. When it is exposed, the system weakens. When we look closer at this subterranean world, we find a highly complex community operating under our feet. A single teaspoon of healthy soil can contain more living organisms than there are people on Earth. The primary drivers of this ecosystem are microscopic. Saprophytic bacteria specialize in digesting simple carbon compounds, while mycorrhizal fungi extend far beyond plant roots, acting as a biological internet. These fungal hyphae mine the soil for microscopic traces of phosphorus and zinc, trading them with host plants in exchange for liquid carbon sugars produced via photosynthesis. When soil is left uncovered, this entire network is put at risk. Ultraviolet, UV, radiation from the sun is a powerful sterilizer. Bare soil exposed to direct sunlight effectively undergoes a process of solarization, killing off beneficial microbes in the top inches of the profile. Without these organisms, the chemical cycling of nutrients grinds to a halt. Plants lose their natural partners, making them entirely dependent on synthetic inputs to survive. Keeping the soil covered ensures this delicate biological engine remains fully fueled, hydrated, and operational. You can like the video if this explanation of the soil food web is making sense so far. One of the biggest problems in gardening is leaving soil bare between planting seasons. Bare soil loses moisture quickly because sunlight and wind dry it out. Heavy rain can wash away nutrients and damage soil structure. Over time, this leads to poor fertility and weak plant growth. Another major issue is frequent digging or tilling. While it may seem helpful for preparing soil, it actually destroys fungal networks and disrupts the natural structure that soil organisms create. This forces gardeners to rely more on fertilizers and constant maintenance. The mechanical disruption of soil through tilling creates a short-term illusion of fertility. When you rip open the soil, a massive influx of oxygen causes a sudden burst of microbial activity. The bacteria rapidly consume the stored organic matter, releasing a flush of nutrients all at once. However, this is the ecological equivalent of burning down your house to keep warm for a single night. Once that initial burst is over, the soil is left structurally devastated and biologically depleted. Tilling physically tears apart the delicate glomalin networks, a sticky protein produced by fungi that binds soil particles into stable aggregates. Without these aggregates, the soil loses its porosity. It can no longer hold air or water effectively. When the next heavy rain arrives, the unaggregated soil particles melt together, forming an impenetrable layer known as a plow pan. This layer restricts root growth and prevents water drainage, leading to waterlogged conditions that drown plant roots. By eliminating bare soil and mechanical tilling, you preserve the architectural integrity of the underground habitat. If you're interested in learning more natural gardening methods that reduce work while improving soil health, consider subscribing to the channel. the materials used for living mulch are simple and easy to find. They include straw, dry leaves, grass clippings, compost, and shredded plant waste. Some gardeners also use living cover crops, which are plants grown specifically to protect and enrich soil. These materials act as a protective blanket while slowly decomposing into nutrients. Over time, they improve soil structure and fertility naturally without heavy intervention. Nature already shows a better way through forest systems, where soil is constantly covered by fallen leaves and branches that slowly break down and feed the ground continuously. Everything becomes part of the system again. Choosing the right material requires understanding the properties of what you are applying. For instance, straw and dry leaves are excellent insulators because they trap pockets of air, making them highly effective at regulating soil temperature. However, they are low in nitrogen, meaning they decompose slowly. On the other hand, fresh green materials like grass clippings are rich in nitrogen, which fuels rapid microbial reproduction, but can mat down and block oxygen if applied in layers that are too thick. The ultimate application of this technique is the use of literal living mulches, low-growing green cover crops like white clover, creeping thyme, or alfalfa. These plants are grown directly alongside or beneath your primary crops. Legumes like white clover possess a unique symbiotic relationship with rhizobium bacteria in their root nodules, which allows them to pull nitrogen gas out of the atmosphere and convert it into a bioavailable form in the soil. This creates a functional green blanket that actively manufactures fertilizer while keeping the ground cool and fully protected. You can like the video if you're discovering new ways to improve soil naturally. When applying living mulch, the process usually starts with basic preparation. Large weeds are removed first to reduce competition. In some cases, gardeners place a base layer such as cardboard or newspaper to block persistent weeds. After that, organic materials are added in layers. Carbon-rich materials like dry leaves or straw are combined with nitrogen-rich materials like fresh grass clippings or kitchen waste. This combination supports balanced decomposition and improves soil health more effectively. To maximize the educational value of this process, it helps to understand the chemistry of decomposition, specifically the carbon-to-nitrogen ratio, C/N ratio. Microorganisms need a balanced diet to break down organic matter efficiently. The ideal ratio for a healthy soil system is roughly 30 parts carbon to 1 part nitrogen, 30:1. If you apply only carbon-heavy materials, like wood chips or sawdust, the microbes will pull existing nitrogen out of the soil to help them digest the carbon, temporarily starving your plants. By layering carbon-heavy browns with nitrogen-heavy greens, you create the perfect balanced diet right on top of the soil. This technique is often referred to as sheet mulching or lasagna gardening. The base layer of cardboard acts as a physical light barrier, suffocating existing weeds and their seeds. As the moisture builds up beneath the cardboard, earthworms move upward to feed on it, softening the soil below. This layering strategy essentially builds a passive, slow-release composting system directly over your garden bed. If you know someone struggling with weeds or poor soil, share this video with them because this method can make a significant difference. As time passes, changes in the soil begin to appear. The soil becomes darker, which is a sign of increased organic matter. It also becomes softer and easier to work with. Water stays in the soil longer, reducing the need for frequent watering. Weed growth becomes less aggressive because sunlight is blocked from reaching the soil surface. These improvements happen gradually, but become very noticeable after consistent use. The dark color that develops over time is caused by the accumulation of humus, a highly stable organic compound that cannot be broken down any further. Humus acts like a physical sponge at a molecular level. It possesses a high cation exchange capacity, CEC, meaning it can chemically hold onto essential plant nutrients like calcium, magnesium, and potassium, preventing them from washing away into the deep groundwater when it rains. The change in soil texture is equally profound. As organic matter increases, soil density decreases, creating a crumbly texture known as tilth. This allows plant roots to push through the earth with minimal resistance, expanding their surface area to absorb more resources. Furthermore, the suppression of weeds is achieved through simple light deprivation. Most weed seeds require a specific trigger of direct sunlight to break their dormancy. By maintaining a continuous living or organic mulch layer, you deny them this light trigger, drastically reducing weed germination rates without the use of chemical herbicides. Living mulch also increases biological activity underground. Earthworms are drawn to the organic material and begin to multiply. Their movement improves soil aeration and helps nutrients move deeper into the soil. Fungal networks also expand in undisturbed conditions, forming beneficial relationships with plant roots. These relationships allow plants to access nutrients and water more efficiently than they could alone. This system works even better when combined with no-dig gardening, where soil is never turned or disturbed, allowing organisms to build structure naturally. The return of earthworms is one of the most reliable bioindicators of regenerating soil health. As these creatures consume organic matter at the surface, they pull it down into their burrows. Inside their digestive tracts, the organic material is combined with minerals and microbes, resulting in earthworm castings. These castings are incredibly rich in plant-available nutrients, often containing 5 times more nitrogen, 7 times more phosphorus, and 11 times more potassium than the surrounding soil. Simultaneously, the absence of mechanical tilling allows the development of arbuscular mycorrhizal fungi, AMF. These specialized fungi physically penetrate the root cells of your garden plants, essentially becoming an extension of the plant's own root system. They can access microscopic pore spaces in the soil that are too small for plant roots to enter. In times of drought, these fungal networks can transport water from feet away directly to the host plant, drastically increasing the garden's overall climate resilience and survival rate during dry spells. If you're enjoying this deep dive into soil biology, consider subscribing for more gardening and plant science content. However, balance is important. Too much thick mulch can trap excess moisture and create conditions for pests like slugs. Using only carbon-heavy materials without enough nitrogen can slow decomposition. Successful living mulch depends on observation and adjustment rather than strict rules. In conclusion, living mulch is a practical gardening method that improves soil health by protecting and feeding the soil continuously. It reduces the need for digging, watering, and chemical inputs while strengthening natural soil life. The key idea is simple. When soil is covered and undisturbed, it becomes more fertile, more stable, and more productive over time. Every gardening method requires nuance. In cool, wet climates, applying an excessively thick layer of organic mulch early in the spring can prevent the soil from warming up, which can delay seed germination. Additionally, a perpetually damp environment at the base of your plants can become an ideal breeding ground for pests like slugs and snails. To mitigate these risks, management must be adaptive. If you notice a slug infestation, the solution is to temporarily pull the mulch a few inches away from the stems of your vulnerable seedlings, allowing the immediate area to dry out. By shifting our perspective from managing plants to stewarding soil biology, we unlock an easier and more sustainable way to grow. Living mulch eliminates the endless cycles of weeding, tilling, and heavy chemical fertilizing that characterize industrial agriculture. Nature does not require human intervention to build beautiful, fertile ecosystems. It simply requires that we stop breaking the systems that are already working perfectly. By keeping our garden beds covered, we preserve soil life, conserve precious water resources, and cultivate a resilient garden space. And if you found this guide useful, share it with someone interested in gardening and sustainable growing methods, so more people can benefit from healthier soil and stronger plants.